measures. Now, our next guest is the fourth highest ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. Congressman Peter Roskam from Illinois is introducing legislation today calling for capital gains and dividend tax rates to stay at 15% permanently. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, with so much talk about how do we, close the budget gap and where do we get the revenue from, how do you think a bill like yours is going to be able to pass?
Well, I think a bill like this creates predictability and certainty in what is really an epic struggle right now that the United States economy is in for job creation and also for capital formation. And there's no way that we can cut our way out of the situation that we're in right now. We need a growth agenda that presumes that we can move forward and you create economic growth. And we're knocking on the doors of a recession right now, and what we ought not be doing is raising taxes on investors. So we need to create an environment where investors say, look, I want to invest, where seniors get the benefit of this, that are disproportionately in the marketplace,
right,
and where businesses say there's some predictability in this. The last thing we need to be doing is raising taxes.
But Congressman, how is keeping the rate at 15% for capital gains and dividend, how is that a job creator?
Well, I think it's a job creator. I'll tell you what's not a job creator. What's not a job creator is raising those rates. What's not a job creator
but why?
is going at the end of...
Where's the data on that, though, Congressman?
Well, there's a study that came out recently that said that there's a direct relationship between job creation and investment income, a direct relationship between capital gains rates and job creation. So look, ultimately, we need to move forward and say, what is it, when you take a step back and look at an environment, what are job creators looking for? They're looking for predictability, they're looking for certainty, and they're not looking for folks moving in a direction that says more money is going to be taken by the federal government as they're passing on accumulated wealth and prosperity within a company
right,
to their owners. So I think we've got a chance here to create an environment where we ultimately grow, because that's the real remedy for long-term prosperity.
Congressman, obviously you're quite impassioned about this legislation that you're proposing. So what are you willing to give up? Because there needs to be revenue raised in some other way. So in order for you to try to get this through a Democratic majority Senate, what are you willing to give up?
Well, I think what we've got to give up is foolish spending. Let me give you an example of that. Right now, there's a way in which Medicare compensates people that is foolish, and Medicare will tell you that about $50 billion a year of that is through a program that's called Pay and Chase, which is actually involved in criminally fraudulent transactions. There's spending that is absurd. There's spending that we can go after, but we need to create a predictable tax environment where investors and seniors and businesses know what the ground rules are.
So basically the trade-off would be to cut entitlement spending, but how's that going to get through a Democratic majority Senate, though?
Well, the Joint Committee is dealing with this right now, and they've been tasked with coming up with these cuts and moving forward and presenting something that can pass through both chambers of the Congress. Ultimately, what I'm saying is the sword of Damocles is over this economy, and at the end of 2012, these rates are going to be going up automatically unless there's some action that moves forward.
Right.
The name of the game is predictability, and what we need to do is to avoid that tax hike, because if those rates go up, I would submit nothing good is going to be happening. Nothing good is going to be happening for seniors who are right now struggling and take a tremendous amount of
Although, I mean, the flip
from...
side is that it's not the seniors that benefit from this so much as it is the wealthy who benefit from this 15% rate.
Well, so think about it. So there's a lot of political theater and drama that comes around folks at the higher end of the economic ladder. But what does a company do if they're paying a higher tax rate and as it relates to dividends for the folks that are at the bottom end? They're adversely impacted. So if the tax rate goes up, who loses? It's not the wealthy person. Their lifestyle's not going to change. It's the person down, the saver down at the lower end of the economic ladder. So I think it's very important that we be thoughtful and wise and predictable and come up with a tax rate that makes sense. It doesn't make any sense for capital gains and dividend rates to go up.
Okay, Congressman, just on one other topic that's completely off of this, you know, because you're a member of the Republican Party, and obviously there's been a lot of talk about predictability and the prediction of whether or not Governor Christie is going to run for president. Could you support a candidate like Governor Christie?
I think Governor Christie's brought a lot of energy to the national debate, and I think he's forthright and clear in what his goals are. I think a lot of Republicans are very interested in what his plans are. I think he's somebody to keep an eye on.
Okay. All right. Congressman Roskam, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me talking about your legislation to keep those rates, capital gains dividends, at 15%.